Too cold for rainbows, too cold for sun, too cold for downpours, but we gonna get one. You better run for cover, rally around that flag. Ain't got a raincoat, I got a plastic bag. Come sit down by the fire. It'll do some good. We're gonna keep it going as long as we got firewood. Too cold to sit down, too cold to stand, too cold to say hello, but I can shake your hand. This is where we live now, so come on in. As long as you ain't looking for trouble, you're welcome, friend. Pull the sleeping bag over, batten it down. Try to keep it level so you don't roll out on the ground. Living in America, in 10 cities. 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 Yeah, too cold to be living in tents, too cold to camp. Try to stay dry, everything gets damp. Too cold to be outside, you can tell it to the cops. You got no other place to go, and the weather won't stop. Take a message to the man, a letter, deliver it from me. Tell him it all like to see him down here.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Soul Food Books. Holler if you're alive and awake tonight. My name is Clint. On behalf of Soul Food and this corner of our neighborhood, I'd like to welcome you here. This is a place that has been here for the last 5 years to celebrate one thing, our neighborhood and who is in it. In that, a group of people who aren't afraid to show up and do the right thing, to be accountable for being a human being and being alive. We celebrate that, we educate that, and we speak it. We walk in that. Tonight, in a country full of change, we meet at a safe place to talk politics, religion. It's called a coffee shop. It's a safe place for all thoughts to be heard. In this time of change, the one thing we need for sure are people that aren't afraid to stand up and start walking forward, to walk forward in whatever they believe is the right action, at least not be able to do something more than just speak about it. That's what I see in your eyes here tonight. It's a great privilege to welcome people who I don't recognize here tonight. Thanks for making the step out to come out. Tonight we have one of our leaders here to speak to us on this subject and guide us forward and moving forward. I'd like to welcome Miss Peggy Petersen to the stage.
Good evening and welcome to Soul Food Books. Thank you, Clint and Sarah and Soul Food. I love you guys. You rock. And welcome to all of you who've not been to Soul Food before. I know that a lot of you signed up. You found out about this on Move On or Rebuild the Dream. And I jumped in when I first saw this and said, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it here. I made a unilateral decision and emailed Clint and Sarah and said, hey, I want to do this here. And they said, right on. So that's why we're here tonight. So thank you for coming out tonight. There are sign-up sheets so that we can all stay connected and keep moving. There's like 10 of them floating around here. Dang, if I can remember where I set them down. So if anybody sees them, it's just a stack of sheets of paper with sign-up stuff on it. Please, they might be on the counter back there, Sarah. Or maybe I left them in the restroom. Please start spreading them around and make sure you get your contact information on that. So as most of you know, this is a Move On / Rebuild the Dream event that has to do, it's called a teach-in, about the 1% and how we got here. So tonight we're going to talk about economy, jobs, Occupy Wall Street, taxes, 2012 elections, and what we can do about it, what it means to us, and how we can make the most of it. So I'd like you to take just a moment, since none of us can do this alone. We're going to kind of, there's an event that's happening at 7 o'clock, so we're going to kind of run through this process without a lot of interchange, but we'll have some chance tonight. And then at 7 o'clock, we're all going to move back like around the fountain or something and hopefully continue this conversation longer, unless we're done a little before 7, okay? So I hope that's all right with everybody, because they fit us in at the last moment, and so we're going to try and honor what's next, okay? So take a moment and just turn to your neighbor, hopefully somebody you don't know and didn't come with, or if you did, and introduce yourself. Maybe just give your name and why you're here, why this is important to you. Thank you, Sarah. So bringing it back, thanks so much. I can see that we have a lot to talk about and share tonight, and I hope we'll all hang around after this and do some more sharing on that one. But we're going to start the presentation now. This is chapter 1, Where We Stand. We all have dreams. A dream is a vision for where we want to go in life. Our dreams say a lot about who we are and what we want. So take a moment and think about your own dreams. What are they? Maybe you want to graduate from college, or you want to see your children or grandchildren graduate. Maybe you want to start a business. Maybe you want to become independent. Maybe you're concerned about retiring. These are all really valid dreams that impact each one of us in some level. Some of us have dreams for our communities and our country as a whole, and I'm guessing that the majority of us here tonight do. So take a moment and just think about, what are the dreams? These are the core of who we are as people. So whatever our dreams are, whatever our goal is, we try to get as close to them as we can throughout our lifetime, and we try to help those that we love get as close to theirs. That's part of what makes us human. It's part of our shared humanity. Pursuing our dreams and helping others is a fundamental part of who we in this country believe we are. The pursuit of happiness. The pursuit of happiness is a big part of what freedom means to us. So think about now what it would take to realize your dreams. What do you need from yourself, from others, from your society, from your country as a whole to achieve your dreams? Without a strong society that safeguards opportunity for all of us, where are you left with your dreams? So stepping back, we could say that people, government, together lay down the path we need to travel forward. The economy is one vehicle for moving forward on that path. But right now, we're hitting a wall. Something is seriously wrong. We can't move forward. We're stuck. There's a barrier in our way. We all know it's there. We can all feel it. Some of us are running into it. Some of us are watching family members and other loved ones run into it, those in our communities. We see it day in and day out. So we're going to talk about what are the barriers blocking you specifically and us inclusively from achieving our dreams. What's holding us back? For some of us, it's not being able to find a good job or any job. For others, it's losing their homes. For others, it's becoming homeless. There's many, many issues on the table in front of us. Some of it's losing our retirement funding. Some of us losing health insurance. I mean, the list goes on and on. I know I'm preaching to the choir here, so you know what those things are, and we can talk about them further later. For some of us, the wall is very, very personal, but it really all has to do with a much larger issues about we as a country are all going through together right now. As a nation, one idea pretty much sums up what this barrier is all about and what it means for us. For the first time in American history, the next generation is unlikely to be better off than their parents. For the first time in American history, the next generation is unlikely to be better off than their parents. So the vast majority of us will not be likely to pursue our own dreams, to realize our dreams as long as this wall exists. We likely have different names for the wall. Some of us might call it inequality, debt, neglect, greed, a wall between our government and ourselves, or a wall of division amongst ourselves. But it's as thick and tall as it's ever been. The wall is made up of 3 layers. Lies about how the economy works. On that layer rest the rules we make for running the economy. And on the 3rd layer is the results that those rules bring about. We're familiar with some of the lies and rules, and we'll get into them in just a few minutes. But we all know what the results have been. Again, people losing their jobs, homes, wages, and wealth. We're all feeling pretty uncertain and stressed about health, housing, retirement, education, our children's education, our grandchildren, or our own. We're feeling blocked and penned in. Some of us are having things that we care most about taken away. So who built this wall? Wall Street, banks, other big corporations planned and paid to build this wall over the past 30 years. They crashed our economy right into it. By keeping the foundation of lies in place, most fundamentally the lie that this unequal economy is perfectly natural and not man-made, and that there's nothing we can do about it. What are the actual companies we're talking about here? These are just some of the corporate elites. Can you all see this? Shall I read a few of the names? I think we all know them. JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Citigroup, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, hedge funds, account firms, big corporations, big oil, big pharma, big agriculture, insurance, big telecom, and defense contractors, and lobbying groups, Chamber of Commerce, Business Roundtable, NFIB, Financial Services Roundtable, and again, pharma. So thanks to these industries and corporations, this floored me when I read this earlier. We just finally got the materials to present tonight yesterday or so, and so I'm cramming on this one. Please bear with me, but this floored me. This one I didn't know about. Thanks to them, corporate interests now spend $2 million on lobbying every hour that Congress is in session. Every hour, wow. So why is Wall Street worst of all? Because they're the leading architects and builders of this wall. They've gained enormous economic power in the last 3 decades, have used their economic power to gain political power, to get even bigger economic power. So there are 3 facts that I want to convey to you here. In 1996, Wall Street surpassed manufacturing to become the dominant force in business. They were instrumental to redirecting income to the 1%. They generated profit mostly by finding new ways to strip wealth and income away from us, the 99%. But it's clear they couldn't have gotten away with it on their own. They had a lot of help. One of the hardest truths to accept is the role of our elected officials in this mess. So maybe it's not. I mean, we've been watching it fall apart for a while now. In both parties, elected officials helped in building this wall. Instead of using their policies, rules, and resources to pave the way to shared prosperity, they changed the rules, bought into the lies and changed the rules and gave Wall Street what they needed to build this wall higher. And what's been the result? They're pretty stark. We'll get into the details soon, but the big picture is clear. This economy does not work for everyone, or even for most of us. So why would they build this wall? Let's look at what's happening on the other side of it. So this economy works well for only 1% of the population. This is their formula. It's how they divide society and our resources. It's one of the most uneven pictures we've ever seen in this country, and we've seen many examples of uneven pictures in this country in our history. We find ourselves, our economy, and our country living in service to the most elite few. And they take no steps to help us. They elude any measures of accountability or responsibility. And I'd like to add, okay, so this is the verbiage from Move On and Rebuilding the Dream. And I agree with the majority of it. You may have other opinions. I do see some in the 1% reaching out and talking and saying, hey, they see the inequality too. So I just want to put that in there. I don't like absolutes. Thank you. But they see something worth defending in this picture. They see inequality as a good thing. They even tell us it's good for the economy. Let's look at the picture on their side and see it for ourselves. There's nothing good about 1% of the people owning 40% of our wealth. Nothing good about their income growing compared to ours at a ratio of 224 to 5. The average S&P 500 CEO pay equals 342 times the pay of an average worker. That's up from 42 times the pay of an average worker in 1980. It's far greater than the ratio anywhere else in the world. So 1% of people in this country are millionaires, yet nearly 50% of the members of Congress are millionaires. It's no wonder they're out of touch. They have the wealth on their side. They also have a big part of government on their side, even though government should be standing firmly on the side of the 99%. It isn't just a division of wealth separating the 1% from the 99%. It's a division of values. Greed ruling over the common good, prioritizing the next quarter over the next generation, justice for some versus justice for all. So in a sense, getting control of our priorities and values is the most important thing that Wall Street has control over. They're setting the priorities for our country and the choices politicians make. And I think these priorities are wrong. Rules reflect choices, and choices reflect values. The inverted values that you see here are what prevail today, and in many ways they rule over us. The people who believe in these values and defend them are holding this wall in place. These are not the values that made America a land of opportunity for millions. In fact, when these values take hold, opportunity declines. We believe that wealth should serve the common good, not the other way around. But Wall Street and big corporations have put their gains ahead of everything and everyone else. And we know what that has led to. For the economy, it means increasing cycles of crisis, like the one we're in now. For democracy, it means that each of us has less and less of a voice in the fate of our own communities. And for America, it means the breakdown of the economic engine, the middle class. We've been here before. The 1% have a history of doing this. In 1929, income going to the wealthiest 1% spiked, but we reversed it. The trend to save our economy and build a stronger America. In the 1920s, it was the robber barons and the monopolies that built the wall with the help of the politicians. They crashed our economy and created the Great Depression. At that time as now, the wall seemed too tall to tear down. The power of industry and the 1%, even in the middle of the Great Depression, seemed too great to challenge. The loud populist leader, Huey P. Long, governor of Louisiana, spoke skeptically and rather convincingly about the situation in a way that might seem very familiar to us today. They've got a set of Republican waiters on one side and a set of Democratic waiters on the other side. But no matter which set of waiters brings you the dish, the legislative grub is all prepared in the same Wall Street kitchens. Kind of echoes where we are. What happened then was that the people took hold. They elected the right leaders. They weren't perfect by any stretch, but they got the leaders to stand on our side. They organized, they fought hard, they worked together to tear the wall down. They laid down a new set of values. The first step was to put a new set of values in place. It reversed the inverted order of things that we saw a moment ago. Put people to work and shared prosperity over the narrow desires of the very few. FDR said, "We have come to a clear realization of the fact that individual freedom cannot exist without economic security and independence." So one thing about this quotation is that it embraces the ideas of individual freedom, which has now been co-opted as a right-wing mantra. And they use it to justify cutting taxes, government services, regulation. But what it actually asserts is that freedom is impossible without economic security. That security means holding both business and government accountable. It's really a truly progressive idea of freedom. So our leaders at the time put new rules, they got new values, they established new rules that worked better for more people than just the 1%. Our elected leaders deliver on values through the rules they decide to implement. Will they lay paths or will they build walls? After the Great Depression and World War II, our leaders believed in progressive values and a shared social contract. We established Social Security, the GI Bill, and many other policies essential for ordinary people to move forward. Today, few parts of this path are safe. Note how many of these rules we still have, and of those we do still have, how many are under attack. During the post-war period, when we had these rules in place, what was the result? So I'll give you a few of the rules and we'll talk about them in our group afterwards. Social Security was founded. Open immigration laws let Northern and Western Europeans into the country in the 1900s. Strong unions ensured good manufacturing jobs. The GI Bill opened up housing and educational to the middle class. Federal housing laws ensured fair and affordable mortgages and homes. Government non-discrimination provided access to public sector jobs for women and minorities. Guaranteed pensions and health benefits on the job let people retire with peace of mind. And the federal highway system created prosperous suburbs. There are other issues about suburbs, but that's not for tonight's talk. So we paved the way to share prosperity. Everybody in every income group was able to move forward. They all grew. Let's take a look at that data. In each of the 5 income groups, people moved forward, with the lowest income group experiencing the fastest growth, over 100%, from 1947 to 1979. And we can see just a few of the rules that made this picture possible. Now, we don't want to paint too rosy a picture because it wasn't perfect. Many barriers still existed, as they still do today. Okay? Some of those barriers are still immigration. They are still, I mean, the list goes on and on and on. We have lots of things. But even with these barriers to equality in place, because of a basic shared commitment to shared prosperity, we built the first and biggest middle class the world had ever seen. But in the 1970s, Wall Street organized to build the wall again. Big corporations and the 1% got organized. Let's take a closer look at each layer of the wall this time. The first layer they built is lies. They're lies about how the government works, what our priorities should be, and what the signs of success would look like. There are many. We'll review just a few. Rich people know best. It's pretty much the theory of trickle-down economics. Eliminating taxes and services produces well-being. Less government makes you happy. Foxes should guard the hen house is corporations can and do regulate themselves. Money equals speech, and corporations equal people. I think that speaks for itself. Working together never pays off. You're all on your own. They influence politicians to rewrite the rules for Wall Street, corporations, and the 1%, what they could do and what the government would do for the rest of us. Take a quick overview of the choices so many politicians made, starting in the 1970s and 80s. Money in politics. Courts gutted campaign finance rules, giving big money more influence in government. Politicians shifted taxes off the 1% and corporations and onto working people. Then they drained the tax base and then cut public services. Politicians let big corporations and banks write their own rules, socializing risk and privatizing reward. Legislators did not raise the minimum wage to keep up with inflation, and employers cut wages to boost profits. Legislators changed laws to help big business bust up unions. And finally, NAFTA-like trade deals encouraged corporations to export jobs and weaken standards. Oops, sorry. So some of the slides, some of the rules are, again, going on. Taxing work more than wealth. So we as employees get taxed at higher rates than corporations. Allowing banks to get too big to fail. Making minimum wage unlivable. This is for a family of 3. And defunding college dreams. So average student debt rose from just under $10,000 in 1992 to nearly $30,000 by 2011, and higher than that for private schools. It's a direct result of government cutbacks, both in federal grants and on the state level in support of public colleges. Personally, I think education is really important. Whoops. And these are Wall Street's results. These are the lies, the rules, and the results. Let's look at an overview of what these lies and rule changes have meant for us. Results of the past 30 years. 1 in 3 working families is now low income. Hourly pay at the middle has barely increased in 30 years, adjusted for inflation. And kitchen table problems are not on Washington's agenda, things that matter to you and me in our own homes. The results of the Great Recession, 4 million foreclosures, and I think it's higher than that, actually, and 1 in 4 homeowners underwater, and 25 million can't find any or enough work. I know the national unemployment statistic just came out again, it's like 9%, but if you look at the alternative statistics, it's much, much higher than that. And alternative statistics are also by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. It's just not the official one that we use, but it includes everyone in it. We no longer reap the rewards of our work. The middle class declines as unions do. We're borrowing to make ends meet. And families are living on the edge. So what is the result? Let's use this framework to think about through one example or one or two little examples of the results that we can point to, something that's keeping us from moving forward. How can we trace it back to a specific rule? Okay, so the examples that we're given here is lie equals the free market is God. It's unfailable. The rule is no greenhouse gas pollution limits if the market is God. And the result is unchecked climate change. Or lie equals poor people are lazy and undeserving. The rule is meager unemployment benefits and welfare assistance for lazy and undeserving people. And the result is families are in desperation, local businesses lack customers, and they eventually close. I think that's the trickle down, actually. So where does this wall leave us? We once grew together, and now they pull away. This picture couldn't be more dramatic. It's a clear departure from the progress we've made in the post-war era. You can see from income growth from 1947 to 79 that we all pretty much grew together, with the bottom 20% actually achieving the most gain, percentage-wise. But from 1979 to 2009, when with the most current figures, it's a radically different picture. Something's wrong with this picture. So what do we need to do? We know what we need to do. We need to tear down the wall. It's what we did before. It's hard then, and it's hard now. It feels pretty impossible, but they did it, and it's possible now. We can do it. We need to work together. So let's start with the divisions among us. The first step is to break through the walls separating us from one another. So think about that. What barrier keeps you from connecting with someone else in the 99%? Class, race, what is it? Gender, sexual preference? Yeah, gated communities. Any other ideas? Fear. Wow, that's a big one.
Nobody talks to their neighbors anymore.
Okay. So we're going to start changing that tonight. Let's hope. Let's do that. Let's make a commitment to that. But we're already beginning to see the barriers break down and people coming together. We're moving forward. We've begun to realize what this wall is, who built it, and what we need to do. We've been working separately. And now we're starting to come together. We've been working on our own in small groups, maybe at different points on the walls, speaking out, taking out a brick here and there. But now we're coming together and working together. This is a unique moment in our history. The missing piece in making meaningful change has been mass public action. And with the arrival of Occupy Wall Street, public action is now growing larger and moving faster than ever before. We need to add our voices and our bodies to this momentum. Some people are already doing that. They're drafting better rules. Some people are challenging rules through courts. Some people are pressuring attorneys general for investigations and prosecutions. And others are working locally in their own communities, in our communities, to resist the worst of Wall Street. Some people are changing banks into credit unions. Some people are marching at Occupy Seattle. Some people are doing whatever it is. Some people are standing up here on this stage tonight to say, or joining with Move In to do this. How can we come together? Because if everyone stands up and takes an action of what they can do, then we can tie all of our efforts together. And this is what we need to break down this wall and the road to shared prosperity that we all dream of, that we think of as the American dream. We must take back government and make the politicians use their power and resources to lay down a sustainable future for all of us. Not let anyone build these walls that keep us from it. We need a clear path, removing the lies and policies standing in our way to rebuild America. We can redesign and rebuild the economy that works for all of us. We all have to work together, and it starts here, now. 3 months ago, the American Dream movement started. It was founded by Van Jones. I'm sure all of you have heard of him. And designed a new path forward, the Contract for the American Dream. It's a 10-point plan for the economy. 1, invest in our infrastructure. 2, create clean energy jobs. 3, invest in public education. 4, offer Medicare for all. 5, make work pay. 6, secure Social Security. 7, return to fairer tax rates. 8, end the wars and invest at home. 9, tax Wall Street speculation. And 10, strengthen democracy. This was created by a grassroots process of consensus between 131,000 people. That's a lot of consensus. And now it's been endorsed by over 300,000 people and counting. You can find more about it at www.rebuildthedream.com. www.rebuildthedream.com. So this is a truly historic moment. The convergence of the 99% is real. It's happening visibly all over this country, and I would say globally. This is a global movement. It's not just here. Our challenge is to increase and sustain our efforts, to think big and to act differently than we have, to break down those walls and come together and talk to our neighbors, to learn about who we are as a people and take the actions in front of us. We're not going to get different results working in the same old way. So the first thing we need to do is to change our personal lives and local networks, is to start reaching out to each other and making the connections and talking about what the situation is. We have more in common than you know. The second is to make change at the ballot box during elections. Vote in progressive politicians. From school board to Congress. I heard a thing on NPR the other day that blew me away, but the national, so both Republicans and Democrats are pouring big money into school board elections with a clear agenda to take that forward. There's something wrong with that. It's just fundamentally wrong. So the third action, and if this is for you, then do it, but do it in another way. They are urging us to take action on November 17th. I'll talk a little bit about that in just a second. But really the key is to make change by adding your voice to the mass public protests in whatever way is appropriate for you to do, okay? Do something. You can't just sit. You must act. Our participation on any one of these fronts could be game-changing. One vote does count. It really, truly does. One reaching out counts. It really, truly does. And can help us all come together for success. Change begins with you. This is a powerful moment. All our actions add up to more than the sum of their parts. Everything we do is multiplied 1,000 times. If everyone did what was right in front of them, imagine everyone, I mean everyone, imagine 7 billion people doing the one thing right in front of them around the planet. Personally, this is bigger for me than just this country. While this is my home and my country, it's huge, but this is a global issue. Think about what are the talents and resources within your reach that you can bring to the table. What are some of the ways you can personally make a difference? How can you reach out to your networks? Who are your networks? How can you start interconnecting that web of life? This is a fundamental structure of how things hold up together. You could move your money. You could move your institution's money. You could help, this says defend a neighbor's home, but it really means, helping someone who is facing foreclosure and what that looks like with either resources, time, or information that they might need, if you can assist them. So how do you do it on an individual level? And how do you begin to come together in communities and do it on a group level? I'm guessing a lot of you have been doing things both individually and on group levels, and it's, we need to ratchet it up. A lot of you are here because of Move On. But again, we've been doing it in isolated pockets. I don't know a lot of the faces here. I know that you came because of Move On. I would like to know you personally and see how we could work together. What can we do to make a difference? We can't change the rules unless we change who's making the rules. Every elected position counts. As I said, from local school boards all the way to Congress. Progressive people from all across the 99% are standing up and launching campaigns for 2012. We need to show up in the voting booths, in the fundraising cycle, online, on Facebook, supporting your causes, supporting, getting the word out in living rooms and every other venue, like this one, so that we can support them together. Support bringing our values forward. If you want ideas how to get involved in elections, lots of organizations will be getting out more information about that in early 2012, which is just right around the corner. Wow. Groups like Progressive Majority, Rebuild the Dream, and Move On, of course. And I'm sure there's many others that you can think of. So on to November 17th, National Day of Action. Mass public action has been completely shifted the debate in this country so far. It's moved the shift from, whatever the pundits were talking about to actual people taking to the streets. It's been a powerful message, even though it was ignored for a very long time. It can no longer be ignored. It hasn't been ignored for a while now. And it's put the focus on Wall Street, jobs, investment in our future, and everything that really matters to us, our values, other people. So Thursday, November 17th is the next National Day of Action. It's in coordination with Move On, Rebuild the Dream, SEIU, local unions, local occupation movements, and others in the progressive movement. You can go to, I was at this website earlier and it was not up online yet, but you can go to see if there's something locally happening at www.november17th.org, spelled out NOVEMBER1717.org for more information. And they assure us that this is not the only time we'll be called out for mass public action. We must stay in touch, so please fill out those sign-in sheets if you want more information to know what's happening locally and you want to participate. It's gaining momentum and influencing us every day. It's getting stronger and stronger just because of people like us caring to come out. One woman here tonight said she saw the flyer that I sent out or the notice I sent out on a listserv I'm on, said, "You changed my evening's plans." That says something about what's important to people. This wall was built over decades, and it won't come down overnight. But just like they did in the 1930s, if we work hard together, we can tear it down. We can return our country to what we believe it to be, what our values are, and build a new path towards an economy that works for everyone. Sarah, how are we on time? Thank you. Thank you. Perfect. All right. So, yes.
I think an example of what you just said is the Berlin Wall, where it divided economies. There was such a disparity between the two that the wall had to come down.
Yeah.
And now I don't know what the progress is now there, but that's an example of what we're talking about here.
Absolutely. Did everyone hear that? Berlin Wall is an example. It took a mass movement of people coming together in mass action to tear the wall down. And that's very much what this feels like at this time. Thank you. That's a great point. So this is the end of my little presentation up here, and I want to thank you for coming tonight. But I want to encourage us all to stay. We are going to have to shift down to that end because there's some wonderful musicians who are coming up. I want to really thank Sarah and Clint and Soul Food Books for allowing us this venue and to speak the truth here for our shared values, for our tribe. I encourage you to support local businesses like Soul Food Books and some of the other businesses in the shopping center. Vote with your dollars. Buy a cup of coffee or a pastry. We have the best coffee in town here. And you can find me here a lot, by the way. I'm one of the 25 million underemployed, and so this is kind of my office when I'm not doing other things. My name is Peggy Petersen. I'm going to be around for at least the next probably hour, and I'm going to be sitting back by the fountain, and I encourage you all to come back with questions. I have some questions that Move On has supplied here that we can sit around and talk about, and ways we can get it connected, or however that might look like. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for coming.